The alien research station floated silently above a bright blue-green planet, its metallic hull reflecting the glow of a distant star. Inside, corridors hummed with energy as scientists hurried between labs carrying instruments that defied human imagination. Towering screens displayed DNA sequences, energy signatures, and alien physiology in glowing streams. But among all this activity, one presence dominated the station: the alien princess. She moved with grace, each step deliberate, her violet-tinted skin shimmering faintly under the artificial lights. Her eyes, silver and liquid, scanned every detail as though she could read the very essence of life. Around her, advisors and guards whispered, careful not to draw her attention unless necessary. Today, she was here for one reason and one reason only. You're lying, she said sharply as she entered the laboratory where humans were observing alien equipment. Her voice was melodic but firm, carrying authority that made even the most confident scientists hesitate. Humans cannot breed year-round. Show me proof! Captain Alex Carter stood near a holographic console, his dark hair slightly messy from hours of demonstrations. His posture was relaxed, but his eyes were alert. He had faced skepticism before. Plenty of species doubted human capabilities, but he had learned to meet it with patience and a little tact. Your Highness, Alex said calmly, bowing his head slightly, I understand your doubts, but human reproduction does not follow a strict seasonal pattern like your species. There are cycles, yes, but humans can conceive throughout the year under the right conditions. The princess raised an eyebrow, her expression unreadable. Right conditions, she repeated. Explain. I want details. Alex activated the holographic display. Images of human reproductive systems appeared, rotating in 3 dimensions. Graphs of hormonal cycles, fertility windows, and conception rates shimmered in the air. Humans have biological cycles that vary individually. Age, health, environment, and emotional state all influence fertility. Unlike your species, which relies on precise seasons, humans adapt. They are resilient, resourceful, and capable of reproduction at almost any time. The princess circled him slowly, her gaze piercing. She stopped and looked directly at the display. Charts and graphs are meaningless unless I can see it in action. Data without demonstration is only theory. Humans are cunning. Perhaps you manipulate these numbers to deceive me. Alex smiled faintly. He expected this skepticism. It was natural for a species that relied heavily on seasonal cycles. I anticipated your doubts. That is why I propose a controlled observation, he said. We will observe human volunteers under safe and ethical conditions, monitored with your technology. No one will be harmed. You will see for yourself. The princess considered him silently, her arms crossed. Her guards shifted uneasily, sensing the tension but unsure if intervention was needed. Finally, she spoke. Very well. I will observe this demonstration, but it must be flawless. If humans deceive me, there will be consequences. Alex nodded, understanding the stakes. Agreed, I will ensure everything is transparent. You will witness not only human biology, but human behavior, which is just as important. Preparations began immediately. A small human research team was assembled on Earth, their consent verified through both alien and human protocols. Alex coordinated holographic communications with the princess, ensuring she could observe every step.
Meanwhile, he began explaining more than biology.
He spoke of human culture, the way families cared for each other, how communities adapted to harsh environments, and how intelligence often guided survival. The princess listened with patience, though her expression betrayed little emotion. She had studied countless species, but humans were different. They were unpredictable, clever, and surprisingly cooperative. Her advisors whispered among themselves, some in awe, some in doubt. Could a species so physically fragile truly surpass the calculated precision of her own kind? As the observation began, holographic feeds displayed human volunteers in carefully controlled environments. Some were in city habitats, others in rural areas, and a few in extreme conditions to test adaptability. The princess watched silently, her silver eyes reflecting the glowing screens. Alex narrated each scenario. These volunteers represent a broad spectrum of human life, he explained. Notice how their cycles continue despite environmental changes. Their bodies adapt. Emotional bonds, community support, and intellect contribute to survival and reproduction. At first, the princess was skeptical. The humans on the screen seemed ordinary, laughing, talking, and going about their daily routines. There was nothing extraordinary at first glance, but as days passed, subtle patterns emerged. Some volunteers faced challenges, illness, resource shortages, or environmental hazards. Each time they found ways to survive, protect each other, and continue their lives. Fertility cycles were maintained and conception occurred without reliance on strict seasons. The princess's interest grew. She began asking questions, her voice softer now but no less precise. "How do these humans maintain fertility under such stress?" she asked. Alex smiled. "Through adaptability and intelligence. Their physiology is flexible, yes, but their social structures and problem-solving abilities enhance survival. It is not just biology, it is culture and cognition working together." One day, an unexpected situation tested both humans and aliens. A minor quake struck one of the observation habitats. Equipment faltered and volunteers were in potential danger. The princess watched, tense, as humans quickly coordinated rescue efforts. They used simple tools ingeniously, guided each other to safety, and maintained calm under pressure. Her advisors were amazed. They whispered that no alien species could handle such chaos so efficiently. The princess, however, remained focused. She observed not only survival but cooperation, resilience, and foresight, qualities that no chart or calculation could fully capture. Alex seized the moment. "Your Highness, this is exactly what I mean. Humans are not just biologically capable. They thrive because they think, plan, and adapt. Their ability to reproduce year-round is only part of their resilience. Their society supports it. Their minds and communities make it possible." The princess considered this, her expression unreadable. For the first time, doubt flickered in her silver eyes. She had studied species for centuries, yet humans defied her expectations. Their unpredictability was both frustrating and fascinating. Days turned into weeks, and the observation continued. The princess began asking more detailed questions about human life: how they cared for children, how they formed partnerships, and how they overcame environmental challenges. Alex answered patiently, emphasizing that human strength was not just in physical capability but in intelligence, morality, and cooperation. During a quiet moment in the laboratory, the princess approached Alex directly. "You speak highly of your species," she said softly, "but I have seen deception before. How can I trust that what you show me is not selective?" Alex met her gaze steadily. "Trust is earned, not given," he replied. "But you have seen their actions, not just words. You have watched them respond to danger, support each other, and adapt to impossible situations. That is proof that no chart can provide." For the first time, the princess allowed a faint smile. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it indicated that her rigid beliefs were cracking. She had come to prove humans were limited. Instead, she was beginning to see their potential, and perhaps their extraordinary nature. The tension in the lab eased slightly as the princess continued her observations. She still had doubts, but curiosity now outweighed skepticism. She spent hours watching humans navigate daily life, overcome obstacles, and maintain their reproductive capacity. Slowly, she began to understand that adaptability, intelligence, and community were as crucial as biology. As part 1 drew to a close, Alex prepared for the next phase, demonstrating human reproductive resilience in a controlled but realistic scenario. The princess, now invested in the outcome, leaned closer to the holographic screens. Her earlier arrogance had shifted into fascination. She realized that humans were not just another species to study. They were a species that challenged her understanding of life itself. For the first time, she wondered if she had underestimated humanity entirely. And Alex, ever confident, knew that the final demonstration would leave no room for doubt. Humans were extraordinary, not only because they could reproduce year-round, but because they thrived under conditions that would crush most species. The story paused here, leaving the princess on the edge of discovery, her skepticism slowly transforming into respect. What she would see next could redefine how her people viewed humans forever. The next phase of observation began on Earth, where Alex had arranged a controlled environment for the human volunteers. The alien princess stood aboard the orbital research station, her silver eyes fixed on the holographic feed. Her curiosity had grown into something like anticipation. She had seen humans survive minor disasters and adapt to challenging conditions, But this phase would test them in ways no charts or theoretical models could capture. Alex appeared on the screen beside the princess. Your Highness, this phase will demonstrate not only human fertility year-round, but also their capacity to thrive in unpredictable circumstances. We will observe their biological cycles alongside their behavior in varied environments. The princess tilted her head slightly, her expression unreadable. And you assure me this is safe? No human will be harmed? Absolutely, Alex said. We will observe, not interfere, and all precautions have been taken. The goal is understanding, not risk. The first volunteers appeared on the feed. They were ordinary humans from different regions, ages, and backgrounds, carefully selected for health and consent. Each was placed in a simulated habitat, some in temperate conditions, others in deserts or forests, and a few in controlled extreme environments, like frozen tundras or high radiation zones. The aliens' advanced sensors monitored their physiology, while human medical staff ensured safety. The princess watched intently as humans moved through their habitats. One man adjusted solar panels in the desert, repairing them after a sandstorm. A woman in the tundra built a shelter from available materials and started a small fire to maintain warmth. Children learned quickly, mimicking adults' actions, showing that humans relied on community and learning as much as instinct. Alex guided the princess through the observations. Notice their resilience, he said. Humans adapt to every environment. They do not wait for the perfect season. Their fertility cycles continue despite stress, temperature changes, and other challenges. Survival is part of their biology, yes, but also part of their culture and intelligence. The princess raised an eyebrow. Culture? Intelligence? She asked. Exactly, Alex replied. Humans are not just biological creatures. They build societies, support each other, solve problems, and overcome disasters. Their adaptability is both physical and mental. These traits allow them to maintain fertility throughout the year. Days passed and the princess observed closely. At first, she focused on biological data, hormonal cycles, conception rates, and physical health. But gradually her attention shifted. She began noticing patterns of behavior, cooperation, improvisation, and creativity. A family built a rainwater collection system after a sudden storm. A young man constructed a makeshift antenna to communicate across a forested valley. A teenage girl organized supplies for a group shelter, ensuring everyone had what they needed. Her advisors whispered among themselves, astonished. They had studied thousands of species, yet humans seemed to combine fragility with ingenuity in a way no one expected. The princess's skepticism softened. She realized that their strength was not in sheer power or energy manipulation, as with her own kind, but in ingenuity and perseverance. Then, the unexpected happened. A sudden quake shook one of the habitats. Sensors went offline and volunteers were at risk. The princess's eyes widened as she watched chaos unfold. Humans scrambled, but panic did not overwhelm them. They quickly assessed the situation, guided each other to safety, and used available tools to stabilize their environment. Alex narrated calmly. Notice how they handle crises. Humans rely on intelligence and cooperation. Their physical limitations are mitigated by their minds and social bonds. Observe their problem solving. They improvise, adapt, and survive. The princess could not look away. She had studied countless species that were stronger, faster, or more powerful than humans. Yet none responded with such calm determination under pressure. She saw courage in their actions, not reckless bravery, but calculated decisions that preserved life and ensured survival. Hours later, the crisis was contained. Humans were unharmed and the habitat stabilized. The princess exhaled, though silently, her mind racing. She had doubted humans, even mocked the idea of their year-round fertility, yet she could not deny the evidence before her. Humans were extraordinary, not because they were the strongest, but because they could overcome any limitation with ingenuity, adaptability, and willpower. Alex continued. Your Highness, this is the final demonstration. Observe not just their biology, but their society, their relationships, and their resilience. Fertility is only part of the picture. Humans thrive because they think, cooperate, and adapt. This is what allows them to succeed year-round in any condition. The princess leaned closer to the display, her silver eyes reflecting the holographic images. She saw young couples caring for children, volunteers helping one another, and communities rebuilding after disasters. She began to understand that human reproduction was inseparable from human culture. Intelligence, morality, and social bonds were just as important as physical biology. A particularly moving moment occurred when a young couple in a temperate habitat helped a stranger with an injured leg. Their actions delayed their personal activities, but they acted without hesitation. The princess' expression softened. She had witnessed compassion in countless species, but humans displayed it alongside problem-solving and resilience. They did not merely survive, they ensured others survived with them. Alex noticed the change. Your Highness, you see now that humans are more than data points or charts. Their abilities are rooted in intelligence, adaptability, and community. That is why they can reproduce year-round, despite appearances or expectations. The princess remained silent, absorbing every detail. She realized that her original assumption, that humans were limited like other species she had studied, was incorrect. She had underestimated their adaptability, courage, and ingenuity. Humans were not predictable. They were extraordinary in ways that could not be calculated or fully understood. Another challenge arose. A small technological malfunction in the alien monitoring systems caused temporary confusion in the habitat sensors. Humans did not panic. Instead, they improvised solutions. A volunteer fashioned a simple mechanical tool to repair a broken communication line. Another organized supplies to compensate for delayed deliveries. Their ability to adapt, solve problems, and continue daily life impressed the princess more than any chart or graph could. By the end of the observation period, the princess was no longer skeptical. She had witnessed human resilience, intelligence, and adaptability firsthand. She understood that human fertility year-round was only one aspect of their extraordinary nature. What made humans special was their ability to survive, cooperate, and thrive under circumstances that would challenge even the most advanced species. The princess finally addressed Alex directly. I see it now. You were right. Humans are remarkable. Not merely for their biology, but for their minds and their hearts. Alex smiled, satisfied. I am glad you understand, Your Highness. Humans are not perfect, but they have qualities that make them unique. Their ability to reproduce year-round is just one expression of a much larger strength. For the first time, the princess allowed herself a full smile, one of admiration and respect. She realized that humans were not just a species to study, they were a species to learn from. Their unpredictability, creativity, and resilience made them extraordinary, challenging assumptions and redefining what she had believed possible. The story concluded with a sense of closure and possibility. The princess extended her hand of friendship toward Alex, signaling a new era of cooperation between their species. She had demanded proof and received more than that. She had gained understanding and respect. Humans had once seemed fragile, but they had proven themselves capable of overcoming any challenge, thriving under conditions that might have broken other species. Alex knew this was only the beginning. Humanity's extraordinary qualities, its intelligence, adaptability, and social bonds, would continue to surprise and impress. The princess's newfound respect hinted at future collaborations and discoveries, where humans and aliens could learn from one another. The princess lingered a moment longer, watching humans on the holographic screens. Their laughter, cooperation, and determination filled the lab with energy that no chart could measure. She realized that the strength of a species was not always in physical power, but in resilience, creativity, and the ability to thrive against all odds. Humans were living proof of that truth, and so the observation concluded. The princess had demanded proof, and she had received it in a way that went beyond science. She had seen courage, ingenuity, and compassion. She had seen humans survive, thrive, and reproduce year-round, not just because of biology, but because of intelligence, adaptability, and social bonds. In that moment, she understood what made humanity truly remarkable, and she knew that her respect for them would never fade.